Hello, everybody. I have Jonathan Kadoch here. He's a sales director at Undertone. Great personality, great guy, has an awesome story, and I just thought it'd be worthwhile for everyone to kind of hear about him and how he's gotten to where he's been. So, if you want to start off telling us a little bit about yourself, how you've gotten to where you are today, take it away.
Sure, okay. So my professional career began when I just graduated from the University of Maryland. I decided I didn't want to join the corporate world right away, as most of my friends had. I wanted to try something different and kind of break out of the box. So I moved to Dallas, where I worked for my brother-in-law, actually, in a marketing department that was wholesaling Dead Sea Cosmetics. And I did all the literature and the marketing and treated the business very much as my own. After about a year, I saw how much money some of these cart and kiosk owners that were selling the Dead Sea products were making from the kiosks, and I decided to go into business for myself at 23. So I moved to Chicago. I opened up a whole set of kiosks from Chicago to Cincinnati to Miami, fully staffed with employees. It was probably one of the hardest years of my life, but I learned a lot. And after about a year of doing that, I decided that I needed to take a break, make a change. I knew this wasn't something I was going to do for the rest of my life. What attracted me to it was the money, but the actual quality of life was miserable. So I bartended for a couple years and decided to try some things out. And I'd heard about pharmaceutical sales, and I heard that was the industry to be in, but it's very tough to crack in. You had to make a lot of connections. So during that time while I was bartending, I read some sales books. I actually went on some road calls with a buddy of mine who worked at Santa Fe Aventus in Chicago. And I started, every week I would, after, bartending, or actually before bartending, I would take notes. I would read these sales books. I would go over them until I finally landed an interview with a company. I made it to the final round of the interview, flew to New York for it, and which they told me that they were going to go with someone more experienced. So it was disappointing, but I knew I had to get out of bartending. At that point, a buddy of mine had asked me to come back to New York and sell mortgages with him. And at that point, I said, okay, I have to try something there. I have to start getting back into the professional world somehow. And started cold calling, made about 400 cold calls a day to people at night, asked them if they wanted to refinance, et cetera, et cetera. And that was at the tail end of 2007 when the mortgage industry was tanking. At which point I said, okay, I have to get out of this. I was living in my sister's basement, making no base, just commission off mortgages. And a girl at the time that I was dating had told me that she had a friend who was in ad sales. And she said, you'd be perfect for ad sales. You have the personality, you can sell, stop wasting your time selling mortgages. You sound miserable. I said, okay, I am kind of miserable. I want to get out of my sister's basement. So she hooked me up with some guy. We started going out. I didn't really like the guy that much, but I said, what the hell? I have to make this happen. So we hung out a couple of times, got drinks. I was like, so what do you do for a living? And he said, I take these 24-year-olds out, I buy them drinks, and I make money. I said, how much money do you make? And he told me what he made, and I said, I want to be doing this. So he said, all right, give me your resume. Followed up with him consistently. He's like, yeah, I'll send your resume out. He was one of those guys that said, yeah, I'll do it. It took me about 4 weeks to finally get him to follow up to actually send my resume out. Ended up sending my resume out to Eric Franchi, who's our co-founder, who we went to college with, and they brought me in for an interview. At the time, I was interviewed at 4 different companies. 3 of them, which I think are not even in business today, turned me down. Told me, you don't have any advertising experience. I told them, I said, I have plenty of sales experience. I've sold jewelry. I sold cars when I was 19 over the summer. I had my own business. I'm like, I can sell. And we were like, well, sorry, you don't have any advertising experience. So the last company, Undertone, I walked in, and the guy, Jeremy, came out to interview me. And he gave me the same answer. He said, I'm sorry, but the position you're interviewing for, this was an account management position. It wasn't even a sales position. I was just looking for a foot in the door. So we're not looking for people who don't have experience. So I said, listen, I'm like, this is my 4th interview, 4th company. I'm like, I know that I can sell better than anybody else in that room right now. I was like, you have to, there's got to be somebody I can talk to. So he said, okay, there might be someone you can talk to. He goes and gets this other guy, Tony, who walks in, and I just started hard selling him right there, and we had a rapport. And he said the same thing. He said, look, why should I hire you? You don't have any sales experience. And I said, I'll work for free for a month if that's what it takes to convince you that I can sell. And he liked me after that, and he brought me back for a second interview. And they liked me after that. And then they brought me back for the final interview, which was the presentation. I spent 2 weeks in the library in Fort Lee, just going through pages of. I didn't even know what advertising was. I bought advertising for dummies. I didn't even know what an impression was. I didn't study marketing in college. I didn't know anything. I also asked the girl who referred me. I was like, she works in advertising. I was like, can you give me some pointers on my presentation? She gave me some pointers. I went in. I knocked it out of the park, and I got hired. And then 6 months later, I was the top salesperson.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Sorry, it was a long story.
No, that was a great story. I love it. Yeah, so, I mean, it's been 5 years or more?
7 years.
7 years, and you've been at Undertone the entire time, right?
Undertone the entire time, top salesperson the last 4 years.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I thought it'd be cool if you could tell maybe an experience or a story where you've done something within Undertone in sales that has been bold and risky to get you a connection, get you in front of someone, or land an account.
Sure. So I would say this was, I want to say 2010. I had just got my apartment in the city. And I spent a considerable amount of money with a furniture company, I won't name the company, on furnishing my house. And I looked at the bill one day when I got the bill, and I said, this is a lot of money. And they're spending a lot of money on television. I see their commercials all the time. I'm like, I'm going to go after them and try to make the money back that I just spent on my furniture. So it started small, contacting the agency. And, I sat down with the person at the agency, and she was really leaning on me as the expert because she didn't know much about digital. And we went back and forth about, for a month about, how can we do a proposal? And she said, let me get a proposal for $35,000, which in our industry is kind of small. We're talking about an advertiser spends, millions upon millions of dollars. So I went back and forth with her, and I could tell that she wasn't going to sell my product as well as I could. And she was really the gatekeeper. She was holding all the keys to what she was going to recommend to the client. When I knew that what I had to give to the client was much better than what she was going to recommend. So I basically said, screw it. And I went directly to the source. I bypassed the agency, which was bold at the time. Most people, wouldn't do something like that. And now we're actually the quote-unquote in-house agency for this client where they do all their digital through us.
That's awesome. That's a great story. All starting from your furniture at home. Yeah. All right. So lastly, just to kind of finish up here, there's a lot of undergrads struggling to break into the advertising industry, Undertone specifically. What kind of advice would you give someone who, needs to get past the barrier, needs to get in touch with someone within the company, needs to, make themselves visible to get a chance to even get hired in advertising?
In advertising. Yeah. I would say, first of all, it's not necessarily what you know, because anybody can learn what we do. It's really about, when I hire people, I look for three things. I look for ability, so how well you present yourself, how knowledgeable you come off, how prepared you are, those types of things, just innate characteristics in people. I look for coachability, making sure that you're open and amenable to people imparting wisdom on you. People who aren't coachable, I don't see being able to groom. And the third thing I look for is hard work ethic. If you're willing to put the time, and you're willing to work, and you're willing to be coachable, and you have some basic skills, you can be successful. I would say, don't be afraid to kind of do something outside of the box. Hone your talent, perfect your skills, and just really, really go after it. Be confident in that interview room, because that confidence really sets everything else apart. If you seem confident in what you're going to be able to do, the people who are interviewing you are going to feel confident about you to take that position. So I would say those are.
That's great. That's great advice. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the interview.